Let's take you to a different matter now, where a new Human Rights Watch report on teenage pregnancy has reignited a conversation on the struggle faced by many adolescent girls in Mozambique. According to the report, pregnant girls, or those parenting drop out of school because they face huge barriers, get no support from schools. Many teachers and education school officials lack clear instructions on projecting and protecting their right to education. To discuss the report further, we're now joined by co-author Elin Martinez to give us a sense of some of the outcomes here. Elin, very good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Very concerning indeed. A challenge not unique to just South Africa, but many parts of the continent and the world at large. What were the main findings here with this really disturbing revelation?
Good morning, Paul. And indeed, it is a very disturbing situation, given that 18 in every 100 girls are pregnant by the age of 18 in a country like Mozambique. It's 4 in every 100 in South Africa, to contrast. Now, the main findings of a report is that girls are experiencing really significant challenges. Many of them are struggling to stay in school, and this is in a country where hardly any girls finish secondary school. Only 4% finished secondary school in 2020, for example. And so the urgency is really clear. Now, 15 years ago, roughly, Mozambique had a policy in place that forced girls into night shift schools. The second that schools found out that girls were pregnant, they were taken away from day schools along with their peers and sort of sent over. And 15 years later, what a report finds is that this practice continues. A lot of girls are automatically shifted into night shift schools by school officials, despite the fact that 5 years ago the government said that this policy had ended and that girls should stay in school and fulfill the right to education along with their peers. Now, another key finding is that even if there's political will to ensure that girls stay in schools, the lack of childcare, the lack of funding, given that education is not free at secondary level in Mozambique, the enormous challenges of facing stigma and discrimination in school continue. And so this adds up to enormous barriers faced by so many adolescent girls trying to go to school in Mozambique.
What about the pupils who lack or are denied access to sexual and reproductive health information, especially comprehensive sexual education? Are we talking about this lack and challenge within the schooling system, or is it just a general, generally having young girls and boys being deprived the information? How does that process work of the information being handed out and the young people knowing about sex at an early age?
We found really serious barriers in the education space, in the community, and in health facilities. Now, in theory, on the books, Mozambican children should be receiving what we call comprehensive sexuality education, and that covers an enormous amount of topics that really prepare young people, right, and provide them with life skills. It's sexuality education, it's about reproduction, it's about menstruation, so many key topics. And for the most part, a lot of the girls that we spoke to said that they hardly received any information. There wasn't any particular structure to it. Some girls received this crucial information in outside spaces, in like safe spaces. But for the most part, most of them said that it would be really important for them to receive this crucial information, and at a very young age, given that their sexuality is a really big topic for a lot of young people. Now, the very worrying aspect of this is that obviously Mozambique has to focus on preventing teenage pregnancy. That must be its utmost priority. And yet, even though children, in theory, adolescents can access sexual and reproductive health in their local clinics, a lot of girls told us that they were actually refused access to certain reproductive services. A number of them were charged or denied an abortion, which is their right according to the law. And there was so much misinformation that a lot of girls resorted to an unsafe abortion, which, as we know, also drives deaths, quite a high death rate for girls who have unsafe abortions in Mozambique. Yeah. Now, this is all, in the spirit, a very worrying picture. And as I said, it needs to be an utmost priority because children and adolescents need to be empowered with information. They also need to know that they can go to sexual health and reproductive clinics to receive the care that they are absolutely entitled to.
Yeah. Where does the topic of statutory rape factor in here? As you assess who the fathers may be, is it young people with young people, or is there a big segment of it which includes older people who are not supposed to be engaging in such acts with young people?
Now, the context in Mozambique is very varied. There are, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this very serious issue with child marriage. Mozambique has the 5th largest high rate of child marriage in the world. And so quite a lot of the girls that we interviewed, particularly those from the north, so internally displaced girls from Cabo Delgado province who now live in Nampula province, a bit further down, quite a lot of them had been married at a young age. Some were over 18, but those who had been married at a young age had often been married to a much older man and had had children at a very, very young age. Now, other girls are also in informal partnerships, which is a really common phenomenon among a lot of young people who might partner with someone, a peer, someone their age, or might partner with someone who's older. And in many cases, you asked me about rape and prosecutions. In fact, most of the girls that we spoke to had not proceeded with a prosecution. For the most part, families negotiate a union or a marriage with the person, essentially the person who has raped or sexually abused or entered into a consensual relationship with the girl. And so it's actually very hard to track prosecutions in these cases because this is all arranged informally outside of any of the justice sector.
What about, some of your findings when it comes to trying to find solutions and recommendations here to assist the young girls of Mozambique? As I look at some of the solutions that the Mozambican government had offered here was moving daytime schools or to night schools to ensure that these young people are able to access education. I mean, this was something introduced in 2003. We're in 2024, and we're talking about challenges which seem to be exacerbated over the years. Is the night school ineffective? Is it what are the reasons that young girls are not able to complete school and the numbers are so high when it comes to the dropout rate?
So this problem persists. I mean, so in itself, going to a night shift school isn't a problem. Girls should be given the choice. And particularly we're thinking here about girls who are both trying to get an education, which is the right, and also trying to manage childcare responsibilities at an incredibly young age when they should not be having children, right? They should be in school. They should be enjoying life as a child or as an adolescent. Now, so we're really asking the government to focus on that and really consult girls who are affected and those who are not pregnant, I mean, girls generally, more broadly, and boys, to ensure that they're getting it right and they're responding to needs. Now, this night shift policy, it's really important that the government removed it because it was highly discriminatory, and this is no state should have a policy that diverts girls for a particular reason and a status, that is pregnancy or parenthood. So that's really important. Now, what the government really needs to do, and this is part of our key recommendations to it, is to really tackle the stigma and discrimination that prevails in schools and in the education ministry and generally among school officials and education officials, to say you have the absolute obligation to ensure that these girls remain in school and that you support them and encourage them. And I should say that there are teachers who are already doing this. Regardless of whether there are clear instructions or not, teachers are incredibly passionate to ensure that girls remain in school. So on the one hand, there's already great progress along the way, but the government should really ensure that it's a national obligation, essentially, for all officials in the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
The other aspect of this is to really ensure that schools are set up to provide flexibility and what we say accommodations, to really ensure that if a girl really needs to step out to breastfeed their child, because there are two children involved here, right? The schoolgirl and a baby who was probably born in a context of poverty. Their mother is struggling, and their mother should, really wants to be in school but can't because she has to manage things, right? So thinking about that, ensuring that she has space to go out of school when she needs to, and a lot of kids do this anyway, right, on a daily basis, and not penalize her for these particular responsibilities that she has at this very young age. It's also like ensuring that the school system as we were saying, ensures that children receive the adequate information they need at the school level and at a health clinic without stigma and without prejudice, so that they can make decisions for themselves and they're empowered to make those decisions, and that they have access to really crucial reproductive health services to curb unwanted pregnancies, which is a huge reality.